Okay. No.
Mrs. Kanagy, we appreciate you taking the time to join us after a very emotional and heated last 2 to 3 months.
Can you guys hear us
here
while
within
they're
the
talking?
West Branch School District? And a lot of people have been following this from the very start, from the moment that
you hear me right now?
It got out that Mr. DeShields was not going to return, to the moment that the board voted that he was going to return. A lot of people have followed. You have been at the center of a lot of it as the school board president. You've taken a lot of heat. Why do you want to sit down and just have a conversation today?
So I'll start by thank you very much for being willing to do this with me. I'm here to speak both as a school board president, but also as a mom. I've served on the board for 14 years, and I've worked hard during that time to make our district stronger, safer, and better for our kids. And that hasn't changed, but I feel like what's been going on has really tainted us and given us a bad name. So I want to start out by just saying very clearly, we didn't handle the situation right from the start. And I personally take full responsibility in my part in that. In a moment of frustration and emotion, I sent private text messages to our superintendent that were unprofessional and inappropriate. I let my personal feelings, my fear, my protectiveness of my daughter, being a mom.
March 30th, before he was fired. Dead horse. I'm beating a dead horse. Yes. I will tell the media everything I know, as his integrity and fame will definitely be questioned. You get the point.
Yeah.
You get the point. She was not defending her daughter the entire time. She is so full of crap. Sorry, I just blatantly say that. She is so full of crap. Continue.
Spill into a situation that I needed to take more thoughts to it. So without hesitation, I appreciate you're here, and I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the community. I'm sorry for my role in what has happened. I also want to personally apologize to Coach DeShields and his family for the tone and content of the messages, or even any rumors they inaccurately heard, or they heard the rumors but they weren't true. I mean, it's not fair. And that's what's been happening to my family. We've been receiving those as well. And it's just not fair. My son was best friends with Drew DeShields, who is Coach DeShields' youngest son. Drew was at my house for Thanksgiving. I personally have no ill will to the DeShields family and want to move on from this.
Now, let me ask real quick. The text messages, they just came out this weekend. That's been a big focal point of the meeting that happened on Wednesday and social media. You admit that the whole situation was mishandled. Do you have any regret in sending the text messages, or are you glad that some of that stuff that was addressed in the text messages is out?
So I regret the unprofessionalism I did as a board member sending those text messages. Okay, so I do regret that completely. But what I said in those text messages, as it came across inappropriate and brash and strong and everything else, I wasn't expecting them to come public, but it was me talking to my superintendent. And as a school board president, or any board member can talk to their school board or to their superintendent. So yes, I take full responsibility for the inappropriateness of my text messages, but what I said in them, was how I felt at the time, because this has all changed over time. So if you follow the text messages and read them, you'll see, you understand that.
I know there's some stuff that you really want to get off of your chest about the situation. Can I just get somewhat of a timeline, just from when the alleged incident happened involving Coach DeShields' son?
Yes.
To the moment that it was decided that we're going to go in a different direction, and then the school board meeting was middle of April.
Yeah, this one too.
That's weird. Drew was at his house on Thanksgiving because I was also there.
So she's saying that he was at Drew's house. Drew wasn't at Kanagy's house because she said that
Chad Michael is who?
I don't know.
Chad Michael, that's weird. Drew was at his house on Thanksgiving because I was also there. So you're saying Drew was not at the Kanagy's house?
Maybe.
I can't. I wish we could confirm. Do you have pictures or anything you could send us? Drew was at his own house. Maybe he swung by and said hi or something. I don't know.
Have you stopped in for pie or something?
Something for some pie. God, love pie. Some pumpkin pie.
Yeah, right.
All right. Wow. If she's lying about that, that's crazy.
Believe.
Yeah.
So
I'll be honest with you, I don't know exact dates. I wasn't ready for that,
Okay.
but first week in March, the incident occurred in the weight room.
So this was transpiring
This gets
fairly
good.
quickly because I know some people, they're thinking, oh, well, this happened all the way back in January or February during basketball season.
no.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No.
again, people on social
Yeah,
media, they don't know.
and I saw the social media posts when I was on social media about, if Coach DeShields was unsafe, then, why did they let him continue and take the team? And, the team went out to dinner and went to YSU and saw our former player and things like that. The incident had not occurred at that point. So when you ask me for a timeline, maybe the first or second week in March.
Basketball season was already concluded.
Basketball was concluded, yes. And so the incident occurred in the weight room. And then at our probably March meeting in executive session, we discussed things.
Confirm
and
that. We
then
can confirm all that.
I believe, and I don't quote me on the dates, but Mrs. Egli followed through with talking to Coach DeShields about not returning the 1st of April. And I would say that that's probably really accurate because I kind of shut my social media off about April 2nd.
Okay.
And not off. I mean, I still posted prom pictures
31st.
of my daughter from prom and things like that, but I'm not getting on it and reading social media. And then that happened. And then our board meeting that we reinstated Coach DeShields would have been the following board meeting. So that was April 16th,
Yeah, that
17th.
sounds about right. It was right there in the middle
Yeah,
of April.
right.
What come to that decision, though, to get the board to reinstate him? Was it the public pushback, or was it after having conversations with attorneys, or maybe just talking
Yeah.
or hearing out the community? Is that what came to that decision?
So bringing him.
And I know you abstained from it because
Yeah.
you had a personal
Right.
interest in it.
I have that I'm speaking about that, but I'm trying to look at the timeline for this. The larger conversation, okay. Began with the board's original decision. Is that what you're asking me
Yeah.
about? Okay. Of not bringing back a successful coach. That original decision
No.
wasn't made lightly.
I will be
Over the
in there.
years, we've quietly heard concerns from parents, and these emotional about his emotional impact of how he coaches. But the revolving door of what we kept hearing about from these parents were, I don't want my name known. No, I don't want to speak to the AD about it. I don't want to speak to Mrs. Egli about it.
So all this stuff, right, about all these concerns with the Shields over the years and all
Yeah.
these things. How many negative emails did you get
Like 2 or 3,
out of like
200.
And so that number one. Number two, my point, he's never been disciplined. He never got a bad review.
Right.
If this was all going on, he would have got some sort of demerit at some point during
Right.
that thing. So to me, that just, like, again, we've talked about this before. Any high school coach is going to have parents that don't agree
dude.
with them or don't like them. I mean, it comes with the job. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to have that. So yeah, like it. But to frame it that he's had all these concerns over the years, like, you're trying to cover your ass, and it's not true. Like, if it was true, there'd have been a lot. You'd hear about it. There'd be a lot more. How many kids has he coached? How many people have gone
Right.
through there? And it's overwhelmingly positive. So yeah, that's BS.
The one or two. So the one was anonymous that I truly think was a parent. Okay. The one was a girl who had played for him. Okay. But the way it reads is it's not about playing time. Like, she's like, I'm spitballing this. It's not about playing time. He ruined my senior year. He was mean. He was belittling, blah, 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 blah. then like the last paragraph, she's like, and I sat on the bench and I never got in time and this, that, like it was all about playing time, right? It's always about playing time. That's what I don't care what anybody says. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, when a parent's complaining, it's about playing time.
Yeah.
You know, you do have coaches that are aggressive and mean. There was a guy out in Columbiana. You probably know. What was that guy's name? He was like a girls coach that used to scream and yell at the girls.
Was that Eric Whitmer? Short guy. He was
little
the
short, chubbier guy. He used to sit in the stands and scream and yell. And
it was a coach though.
Yeah, he was a coach. He was at Boardman for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking of the boys coach who used
no,
to
there was a
scream
girls coach.
I remember the girl
scream and yell.
I remember the girls coach too because he got let go as well because they caught him on video going crazy.
Yes.
Like it was like, dude, his eyes were bugging out.
Right. It's like if you can't say if a coach is being abusive to the players, you're gonna get him. You're gonna get him. He's gonna do it in the games. He's gonna slip. You know what I mean?
Right.
This guy's not doing that.
No, not at all.
So go ahead.
I don't want retaliated against. There's former players that have reached out.
So you guys are hearing,
Yes.
Mrs. Kanagy, you're hearing these rumblings, right? Or I'm
Yeah.
sure people are approaching you or
And I mean, I'm
comments.
not, nobody's saying it on social media. So no, it's not anything.
That's a good point too. I don't yeah. I don't know how it works in West Branch. But when I coached basketball for 8 years and now with my kid playing, there is a chain of command. And it ain't going to the Board of Education president. Chain of command is you have your kid go to the coach first. If that doesn't work, you have the parent go to the coach. If that doesn't work, you have the parent go to the AD. If that doesn't work, you have the parent go to the principal. Normally, then there's a sit down between the parent, the AD, like a sit down with everybody. Then you go to the superintendent. At no point is the Board of Education president involved in any of that. Why is the Board of now, which makes this even worse, is the Board of Education kid is playing. Why is she involved in everything? She's running the school.
Pretty much.
She needs
like that. These are people that are actually coming to us.
But they didn't want to go through with a formal complaint
Correct.
because
They
myself and other
They-
people reached out to you,
Yeah.
Mr. Fisher, the treasurer,
Yeah.
and we're like, hey, well, if there is this major
Point by
concern,
Jordan.
Yeah.
which
said.
was stated in that one press release, if there's those major concerns, why is he still allowed to coach, and where are the complaints at? And they were nowhere to
Correct.
be found.
Yeah.
But
okay. So you don't.
Her excuse is that like they don't want to be retaliated against. They treat like DeShields and his coaching staff like they're the mafia or something.
Right.
It's like no, it's not that.
Can you not do an anonymous complaint?
Yeah, right.
Could you just write them up and pull them? Like you could. So let's say you have like 4 or 5 parents come forward and say, "Hey, I don't, BJ. I'm BJ. Listen, I'm gonna do this as an example. Let's say I'm your boss right now. I'm not a coach. I'm at Youngstown Studio. I'm your boss. But people are afraid of you because you wear a fedora and they think you're in the mob.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, BJ. I've had some complaints. We're gonna have to file a formal complaint against you. I can't say who it is. I can't say who it is officially. They don't want to go on record. But I have it, and we're gonna need you to stop talking about West Branch local schools all the time because they're complaining about it, and the radio people. It's Carter Stone. He's actually talking about. He's complaining. I just said the name. But why don't they just do that? Write them up. You know what I'm saying? You could write a coach up and not say who the people are.
Right.
Right. Or put it in his file and say, hey, there was a random complaint. There was build a case against them.
Yeah.
It's such horse crap.
they weren't there because people just didn't want to go on the record.
People do not want to go on the record at all. There were a few. I mean, you public record requested us. There were some that people did not mind writing emails, talking. But
where are these then?
I can think of one particular email that was very strong in my mind. The
Where are
person said,
they?
please don't repeat my name because I have a sister still in this district. And I do not want any retaliation to my sister
I thought she was apologizing, but we'll let her go.
over that.
Now, you guys decided, though, that you were going to bring Coach DeShields back.
So, yes. Well, Miki Egli, our superintendent, did some more. I was not digging, to look more into it. And she decided to put him on the agenda. So if you know how boards work, your superintendent puts who they recommend on the agenda. And once your superintendent does that, you feel like your superintendent has done her job and looked into everything, and she put him on the agenda for a vote.
Because initially, he wasn't going to be put on that
Correct.
agenda.
And he was retiring from teaching, right? And the board saw a natural opportunity considering a new chapter and let's move on, because he won't be in the building of teaching. He was a retiree hire, and
Because
we
he
have
had retired a couple years
correct.
ago.
Right?
Right?
But in a contract that we have with our retirees, you have 2 years that you can do a retiree hire.
Okay.
A lot of them like to stay on, and if we have the funding and the money and it works in the schedule and everything, they stay on. Well, our funding, we're concerned, is being cut, and so we are not bringing back any of our retiree hires after 2 years. So he was one of them. So we use this as an opportunity to kind of move on. It was brought up in our conversations about the incident with his son in the weight room,
Yes,
and
Brian.
how he responded to the victim's family after that event. And, at that point we were like, let's move on and let's find, some.
Was DeShields wrong for contacting the family, in your opinion? I feel like he did it as a way to be like, not to as a cover up thing, but to apologize if it's something like, hey, sorry if she felt uncomfortable. If there was a guy, I feel like he was just trying to find out what the concern was. I don't think he was trying to go. She tries to frame it like he's trying to silence the kid or something. You know what I mean? And but I don't know if he was wrong to do that or if it should have been.
It's a sticky situation because it was one of his players? We don't even know.
I don't even know if we know
if it was one of his if it was one of his players, I don't think it's as bad as if it was just a random student in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
If it was one of his players, I think it's not as bad. If it was just a random student in the weight room, it's more of an issue because then he's trying to cover up his head. If it's one of his players, I think it's okay. Like it's not okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. That's my call. And again, you don't know what the conversation is. If
somebody to take over.
If he's like, I just want to make sure everything's okay, you know what I mean? That
right.
kind of stuff. But again, it's a sticky situation because it's his son.
Right.
So
over the program, and that's how that went.
Now
then moving on, like you said, I'm sorry.
No,
moving on.
Kyle says again, we don't know who it is because Kyle says it's one of his players. If it was one of his players,
I would assume it was that, which is why he would be reaching out to, you know what I mean?
If it's one of his players, I think he has every right to reach out to those parents, regardless of if it's kids or not. Because if one of my players is uncomfortable of being in the weight room when I'm a coach, if it's my kid or not, and something like that happens, I'm calling those parents. Right. So then the board or whoever are using that as an excuse to get rid of me.
Yeah.
Right. Here's my question. Right. If it wasn't his kid and he reached out to those parents and would we be having the same conversation right now? So
they might still try to frame it that way. They might still go after the same thing. Like, oh, you shouldn't have contacted the player's parents or whatever directly. But
why?
I think
he's a coach. It's a player.
Right.
See what I'm saying? That would be my thought. Like as a coach, if it's my kid or not, I'm calling because I have a player.
Yeah.
They're in the weight room during time. I'm there. If I'm there, you know what I mean? I'm calling to make sure my player's okay.
Yeah.
Right. The community spoke up. We listened to the community. You listen to the positives and the people that have reached out and actually reached out, sent emails, sent phone calls. I got phone calls. And Miki did more looking into it and was like, hey, I think, and talked to Ryan Wolf, our AD, and she put him on the agenda. And
Miki, when you say looking into it, when you say Egli looked into it more, are you referring to the fact looked into it more as in actually reporting it like you were supposed to 30 days prior per state law? Is that what you're referring to? Because your husband, don't forget, was up there screaming sexual assault, which I'm assuming you thought it was, which you actually say it was. We're gonna get into that here in a second. So when you say look into it, you're actually saying reporting it to the police like you guys were supposed to before you fired DeShields or before you wouldn't renew his contract, right? That's what you're saying. So freaking dirty.
By her putting on the agenda, they want him back. So the board reacted and we brought him back. Yes, I abstained because I'm obviously all over the social media
the entire time, lady.
Involved, and for ethics reasons, I abstained.
As a mom, though, let's take off that superintendent hat for a little bit. It's gotten to a point where your daughter's been through some things. There's been stuff said about her. I'm a dad. You're a mom. Coach DeShields is a dad. This seems like something where you have parties that are trying to protect their children. But as a mom, though, to sit and read some of the things that aren't true. I mean, so, to say that this all came to fruition because your daughter wasn't getting playing time. I've covered West Branch athletics. I've seen her out on the basketball court plenty of times. What was that like?
So as a mom, it was awful. I mean, to be honest, I could not protect my own kid. And that's where my emotion and my mom hat was on and not my school board hat was on. But I will say, it wasn't about playing time, and we all discussed this. But this isn't even about X's and O's in basketball at this point. It's not about winning. Crap. It's not about winning and losing. It's about a student speaking up. Okay, and this is totally how I feel, and about the situation. She spoke up for an incident that she didn't want to speak up about, and she's being retaliated against.
Stop right there. She spoke up about an incident and she didn't want to be retaliated against. When did she speak up? Like, God bless her daughter, okay, for going, and I know she's going to get into it. When did she speak up? Like, this is where I hate even saying it because it makes me grossed out as a parent. I, honest to God, somewhere deep inside, I feel she's using her daughter as a way to freaking, like, remember talked about back full circle, like a caged animal. She starts saying, she reported this. She told them about it, right? She told her parents about it, which she's going to get into. They didn't go to the SRO for a month after. Go ahead. This makes me sick to my stomach when I hear her say this stuff.
Clutching at straws, man.
Dude.
Clutching at straws.
Dude, it makes me sick to my stomach.
My daughter was very reluctant to report it. As a matter of fact, she was in the weight room and she was lifting, and it was her friend, and her friend immediately told her what happened. And their friend said, he just hit me on my butt. And my daughter responded with, like, what? And I mean, I saw the video. I know what happened. I called it sexual assault.
Would you consider it sexual assault or an inappropriate
disagrees
thing
with
that
you.
shouldn't have happened?
Okay.
Yeah.
I personally am not an attorney, and I'm not a policeman. But if a 26-year-old substitute teacher smacks my daughter's butt in the weight room, I would consider that sexual assault. And that's what I considered it. And that is my opinion.
And I haven't seen the video. And people on social media have not seen the video.
Right.
So, it's up to interpretation. Because
absolutely.
You say behind, butt behind. Other people are using the, like Coach DeShields said, lower part of the leg or, a thigh or something.
Yes.
Regardless,
it
shouldn't have happened.
And I don't even care, let's say, what the video shows in terms of what location it was.
Stop!
It was a...
Stop! What are you talking about?
This is some apology.
So, yeah, it's some apology. So she literally said, I saw the video, it hit her butt. And then 2 seconds later, she backtracks and says, well, I don't really care where it shows.
Right.
Right? it is almost like in her head, she's thinking, well, just in case that video ever gets out, I better watch myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, dude, this lady, oh, go
A
ahead.
16-year-old girl being smacked inappropriately by a
won't quit,
teacher
man.
of
Told you, she's
authority.
digging
Dude,
in.
she's
of a
never gonna
mentor,
step
you
down.
know, you
There
you
is
have to
no
feel safe
way.
in your own
Never.
weight room. And then the worst part, that was the worst part, but one of my biggest problems as a mom is, if anyone knows my daughter, knows how confident she is. She did not want to tell me or my husband about this.
Then how do you find out?
She and the friend that I would say was the victim here decided after they worked out, they got together and they decided, we're not telling anyone. Like, we're going to keep this ourselves. We don't want to be singled out. We don't want to be bullied. We don't want any issues with Coach DeShields for retaliating against us. We're seniors next year. This is honestly what my daughter has said and her friend. So they decided not to say anything. Later that evening, my daughter happened to tell her older brother. Okay, that brother convinced her to tell us. So she reluctantly told us.
Same day the incident happened.
So that's where we went. And
Same day the incident happened, she is confirming she knew about a, quote, sexual assault, is what she called it. 3/6/25. All the way to 4/7/25 when the SRO finds out about it. That board knew, the superintendent knew, the Kanagys knew. Okay?
If there was a problem, they would have reported it that day.
Why did she not go to the SRO the next day? Why did she not call Egli? If that was my daughter or my daughter's friend, and I thought a sexual assault happened, something so bad where I have to fire a coach,
Right.
why am I not going to the police the next day? Dude, we're talking about kids. We're talking about 16-year-old girls that I think got sexual assaulted. Let's just say even the next day I get the video and I see it.
Well, you're busy. You got a lot of stuff to do. You got to
Are you
wait.
busy?
Wait a month. You know, I don't know. Just chill. Report it when we report it, I guess. No,
Why?
it's just to cover up. It's to cover up the
Yeah,
story. It's to have a story to get rid of all.
You
would do it the day of. If it was
you
actually
do it
happened,
the day
you do
of.
it the day of.
You wait. You don't even go a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. You wait until the shit hits the fan after you fire that coach. That's when Egli went 4/7/25. That is freaking disgusting.
Yeah.
The same day she knew, they didn't go to the cops. They didn't go to the news. They didn't do anything. They used that as an excuse to get him fired.
Yeah, because there's nothing there. There was nothing there. That's why if there was something there, you would. Yeah, if there's something there, you would go the same day.
So then
you go within at least within a couple days.
Now she's
Like,
going to get into this
a
stuff
month.
about her daughter reporting and she's going to stay in. God bless her daughter for coming forward. They truly felt, good for her. But if that's the case where they didn't go to the cops, then she did her daughter a disservice for not going to the cops, and she did the friend of the daughter a disservice. If something they felt that awkward and that terrible, why didn't you go to the cops the next day, Mikki?
Yep.
since that day, she's been retaliated against, treated differently by adults that are in this building.
Since that day, nobody knew they were involved until 4/1/25. That's a lie. That is a lie or a misquote, whatever you want to call it. Nobody knew DeShields was getting fired until 4/1/25. So it's definitely not since that day.
Yeah.
So she is totally wrong on that. Anything she should be saying is since 4/1/25. Right. And that was when people just jumped to the conclusion that she was involved in somehow, which is funny because I wonder why 3/4 of Westport thought she was involved in somehow when you get into this. And then that's when it all swirled. And then the husband made that thing at that board meeting is when people were like, oh, shoot, this has really got to involve her. So go ahead.
Being ignored, being mocked on social media, and publicly accusing of things that just are not true. I will say, as much as I said she was, treated differently by people in this building, she also was very much supported by people in this building. She had teachers, other coaches that coach her in different things, different sports, reach out to me. Can you please tell Allie? Hugging her in the hallway. So there was there was support in this building, so I'm not trying to single that out. But there definitely was not support as well. And as a mom, not being able to protect her was just heartbreaking. I don't know what else to say. Because I told her,
Why'd you wait a
you're
month,
doing
then?
the right thing.
Why'd you wait a month?
You speaking out is doing the right thing.
Yes,
And
it
then
is. Speaking out is doing the
how
right
it
thing. You know what's
crashed.
not doing the right thing? Waiting a month to turn it into the cops.
It's hurtful.
Freaking.
This was
nuts.
never about basketball. It was definitely
wanted to talk about
over.
this again. I know Joe hates this
again, like
thing,
how
but
we
this is
or
why.
I,
This
as
is
the
why.
board
I've been
member in the
stewing
text
on this for-
messages, handled it. If you follow the route of it, I was trying to defend my daughter.
Pause it.
But it's not about the wins and losses.
She brings up the text messages saying one more time, I was trying to defend my daughter. One more time, dead horse. I'm going to keep beating that horse. He's so dead now. You were talking crap about DeShields before any of that stuff got out. She was talking about him awful, terrible things. I'm going to release stuff to the press before any of that, before the daughter was involved, before anybody knew about any of that. So don't say you were defending your daughter, you freaking liar. You're lying. Lies, 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 lies. Ugh.
My daughter will be playing for Coach DeShields.
Well, why?
Because
I'll ask you this, because I asked Coach DeShields, why is he coming back?
Right.
You know, because if I went through the, knowing that the board didn't want me when all of this happened, and then they voted and they brought him back, I asked him in my interview with him last week, why am I seeing you coming back to 2025 to coach? And he said, because it's something I love. Your daughter has been through it through social media. Why is she deciding though that she wants to play for Coach DeShields? And as mom and dad, your husband's been extremely outspoken.
Yes.
Why are you guys allowing her to play?
So, for the same reason as Coach DeShields, she loves the game. She loves her teammates. She's 5'2". She's not going to Division I to play basketball. She just loves the game. And Coach DeShields himself is not unsafe. I trust. We rehired him. We made the right decision to bring him back. And he personally is not where I feel this issue
Let her keep talking.
is going or is that we need to bring some attention to.
But a lot of people,
I keep going back to these text messages. I'm sorry. The dead horse is dead. He's like bloodied on the ground.